Well, according to Mammoth Community Water District Manager Greg Norby, Mammoth and the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power have reached an agreement to ask for a delay in legal proceedings while they negotiate. Now, meanwhile, more news reports point to LA's insistent attack on Mammoth's small amount of water use. Bennett Kessler filed this report. Settlement talks will address LADWP's legal challenge to the Water District's rights to Mammoth Creek. LA claims Mammoth has no such rights. The Water District strongly disagrees and hired a high-powered Los Angeles public relations firm, Serral Associates, to get the word out about the David and Goliath fight. Now, Manager Norby said that Judge James Garbolino has the final word on whether or not the court will allow the postponement of the case. Norby said this kind of request for a stay in legal cases is not uncommon. He said there are settlement meetings scheduled for October 9th and October 17th, and Norby said that those meetings will likely take place in Los Angeles. Norby said participants will include DWP General Manager Ron Nichols and Attorney Stuart Somach. For the Water District, participants will include Water District Attorney Steve Cronick, 2 board members, and Norby. Now, after the settlement sessions, both sides will confer with the judge on October 18th. Norby said this appearance, quote, will determine if sufficient progress has been made in settlement discussions to warrant continuing the stay on the court proceedings, end quote. Now, on a different but related note, Manager Norby tried to put Mammoth's small amount of water use in perspective. He pointed to the recent news that Crystal Geyser plans to expand its water bottling plant in the Olancha area to use roughly 360 acre-feet more per year. Now, we're going to have more on the Crystal Geyser story in a moment. Norby said that Mammoth's average consumptive use of Mammoth Creek over the past 5 years has been about 390 acre-feet. Now, meanwhile, at the end of August, the LA Weekly publication offered a story on LA's move to get more Mammoth Creek water. DWP Water Chief Marty Adams is quoted as saying DWP is willing to negotiate for Mammoth to pay DWP for Mammoth Creek water. Manager Norby said that that would cost more than $2 million per year. Now, the article says at stake in this fight is, quote, an astonishingly small amount of water, end quote. The LA Weekly article says the amount of water at stake is used by DWP customers in one day. The article also quotes Adams making one of the usual LA arguments. He claims the LA City Charter demands that DWP go after, quote, every drop of water, end quote. Now, Adams denied that this was LADWP's policy. However, the LA Weekly article points to another interesting water factoid, and the article says, quote, the agency loses tens of thousands of acre-feet of water each year to preventable breaks and bursting water mains, end quote. The article quotes an estimated 31,680 acre-feet of leaks annually. Well, back to Crystal Geyser, which promotes its bottled water as the, quote, only major U.S. spring water bottled exclusively at the source, end quote. The company shows 8 sources, and the one in Olancha has plans for expansion. Now, the public can now comment on a draft environmental impact report on Crystal Geyser's expansion plans for a 198,500 square foot bottling plant with 4 bottling lines and a 40,000 square foot warehouse. Now, the site would take in about 35 acres of Cabin Bar Ranch near Cartago, and the comment period ends October 1st. Now, according to the Inyo County Planning Department, Crystal Geyser would extract water from 3 existing on-site wells in the shallow aquifer up to 360 acre-feet per year. Now, it is unknown how many jobs the expansion might include or the tax contribution to Inyo County. Planners say that the company will have to go through a general plan amendment for land use designation changes, a zone reclassification, and a conditional use permit. Construction would take place in 3 phases over a number of years, with the build-out anticipated in 2025 to 2027. Now, the public can check out the environmental documents at all Inyo County libraries, the Inyo Planning Department office, or on the website inyoplanning.org. Well, Bennett Kessler also filed this report. The controversial Senate Bill 1148 which spells out California Department of Fish and Game duties toward trout, passed both the Senate, State Senate, and Assembly last Friday. Now, views on the repercussions of this new law remain at odds. The bill has gone to the governor's desk for his signature. Now, former Mono County Senator Dave Cogdill, who grew up in Mono County, calls the bill a monstrosity. Cogdill said, in his opinion, the bill will mean that Cal Trout, Trout Unlimited, and the larger environmental community will now, in effect, be in charge of the trout programs at the California Department of Fish and Game. Cogdill said he will pass on a more complete analysis soon. Now, Cogdill did say that Inyo County Assemblywoman Connie Conway and Mono County Assemblywoman Kristen Olson spoke against the bill on Friday. He said he would write Governor Jerry Brown to urge that he veto the bill. Cogdill added that he is confident that he will find a sympathetic author to, quote, carry our own bill exposing this travesty for what it is, end quote. The Assembly floor analysis online says that Senate Bill 1148 underscores the, quote, role of hatcheries and the importance of genetic diversity in managing California native trout species, end quote. Much of the bill speaks to the importance of native trout. Now, the analysis said that the bill, quote, requires priority to be given for stocking native hatchery-produced species where stocking is determined appropriate by Fish and Game, end quote. Now, the bill also requires that hatchery-produced trout be stocked, quote, to support sustainable angling opportunities, end quote. Senate Bill 1148 gives Fish and Game the ability to raise license fees to meet costs and says that the new law makes, quote, numerous reforms to update Fish and Game's hatcheries and wild trout programs, end quote. Now, the analysis also says that the bill reflects advancements in the scientific understanding of the impacts of hatchery practices on native fish populations and the importance of genetic diversity in maintaining self-sustaining populations, end quote. Now, it is unclear exactly what impact the bill will have on Eastern Sierra hatchery and trout planning programs. Sierra Wave Media has submitted that question to Fish and Game. Now, one of the supporters of the bill, the Organization of Cow Trout, has maintained that SB 1148 will not diminish funding for hatcheries. Their statement says that the bill, quote, does not diminish funding for hatcheries, would reaffirm AB 7's establishment of the Heritage and Wild Trout program, would tell Fish and Game to stock fish in areas where they are most needed, and doesn't harm the genetic integrity of existing wild trout populations, end quote. Well, according to Inyo County Administrator Kevin Caruncio, the Inyo County budget shows a balanced budget at $82,424,387 for the next fiscal year. Now, that budget is online at inyocounty.us. It's pretty heavy reading at 646 pages. Now, Bennett Kessler filed this report and notes that in the considerably shorter introduction and summary of the budget, Caruncio says that his recommended budget, quote, maintains core county services and programs, avoids significant reductions to or the outright elimination of other services and programs, strives to fund Board of Supervisors priorities, and does not call for any employee layoffs or the elimination of positions, end quote. Now, Caruncio calls the new budget very similar to recent budgets in what it does and does not fund. He also said that the quality of services may be eroding due to repeated years of status quo budgeting. County administrators said that the new budget relies on the use of much more salary savings than in recent years, but not at the expense of hiring public safety positions. He said there is more use of money from the Geothermal Royalties Fund and the Rural Sheriff's Trust Fund. Now, Caruncio said that state and federal budget politics still lurk in the background as potential problems, and so do unknowns about tax revenues. COSO Geothermal's taxes remain iffy, and the possible solar project planned for Southeast Inyo might not pay enough property taxes. Now, the budget summary says funding for senior citizens is secure, including local, state, and federal dollars. Funds will be spent defending the COSO Geothermal Company's property tax appeal. $446,526 has been budgeted for deferred maintenance projects, And the budget also includes an increase of $305,453 in retiree health care costs and an increase of $150,785 for employee benefit costs. Now, the proposed budget does not contribute anything to the General Reserve Fund or County Economic Stabilization Fund. The budget does not set aside money to help with ongoing budget uncertainties, and it doesn't set aside money to help with the impact of employee retirement increases in the future. Now, Caruncio gives credit to Inyo County department heads for their sacrifices to stay within budget. Now, the budget hearings will be starting on Tuesday, coming up September 10th, in a special meeting at 9 a.m. in the Inyo County Board of Supervisors room in Independence. We got notes on a couple of stories. Tonight, the town of Mammoth Lakes was offering a community update on the tentative deal over the $43 million lawsuit judgment debt with Mammoth Lakes land acquisition and developer Terry Ballas. Now, so far, officials have declined to reveal the dollar amount and terms of the proposed settlement. And Bennett Kessler filed another story on the fight in Mono County Public Works that led to the firings of two and then two appeal hearings. One man got his job back, Brett McCurry, and the other, Dick Lumen, did not. Now, please see our website, sierrawave.net, for more on those two stories and others. We'll be back with more news.